I made a last minute decision to include an EP list because I have listened to some pretty good EPs this year. While I don't review EPs as much as albums, I really should, and I tried to do that last year, or rather I tried to do it in 2020. I really tried. I was like, I'm gonna put out an EP review every Saturday, and it happened 2 Saturdays, and then I skipped a week, and then I just forgot. But yeah. Anyway, this is my EPs list. I'm just going to make this as quick and as brief as possible because I really wish more people would give EPs the time of day, including myself. However, I do have this portion of the year to talk about some EPs that I absolutely adore, that I absolutely find fascinating, fantastic, interesting. Let's get started. 10 EPs to go through. Let's start with number 10, Moa with Step. If you're looking for some ambient tinged vaporwave music that kind of sounds like that early 2010s vaporwave aesthetic that was very popular back then, I think this is a pretty good EP to look at. This is the first project that Moa has put out, and I find it very impressive. The textures, the soundscapes evoked on these 3 tracks that total 18 minutes are absolutely dense. They're very, again, textured. It's a very rich aesthetic, one that I absolutely personally enjoy within this style of vaporwave music, the ambient, slow, churning, ascending songs that just feel like I'm ascending, just like being lifted out of my chair, kind of being weightless. Check it out if that sounds interesting to you at all whatsoever. Moving up at number 9, we have Backwash with Stigmata. Despite how much of a shitstorm 2020 has been, Backwash in my mind has had an incredible year. Put out a fantastic horrorcore record. God has nothing to do with this. Leave him out of it. One of my favorite projects of this year. And it also won a fucking Polaris Prize. Holy crap, that's fucking amazing. That's impressive. I watched a video of her reaction to winning, and it was just absolutely heartwarming because you don't expect someone of Backwash's caliber, of Backwash's background, to win a prize like that. And she won it, and I'm happy for her. But this EP over here, let's talk about Stigmata for what it is. It is pretty much a 3-track EP, with the 4th track being this ambient piece at the end of it. They are pretty much as hard-hitting as the album that precedes it. The production on this project is very much reminiscent of Backwash's production in general. And while I think personally I would have loved to see these projects or these songs on a full-length project, it's still fascinating to say we have an EP like this. Listen to it, songs on here stick, and when they stick, I can't get them out of my mind. At number 8 on this list, we have an electronic EP from Otik, 1,000 Year Stare. As the title suggests, this is a very hypnotic EP. Though it's not the most creative or unique sound in the genre, in the field, I think what Otik establishes on this EP is a pretty good collection of hypnotic electronic tracks that really make you go into this almost unconscious state while listening to them. In a sense, you do have a 1,000-year stare while looking and listening to this project. Not in a bad way, not necessarily. These songs do feel long, almost arbitrarily long to some extent. There is a very linear flow and a very typical sound or structure to this track. And the ambience on some of these tracks are very menacing in a lot of respects. The beats on here is really what gets me a lot of the time. They're very hypnotic, they're groovy a lot of times. Not in a way like a house song is, but in a way like a techno song is. At number 7, I have the Uboa EP, The Flesh of the World. Uboa comes back after her 2019 project, The Origin of My Depression, and puts together an EP that in a lot of respects is kind of brighter than the album that precedes it. I didn't get a chance to review The Origin of My Depression, but listening to this EP, it made me regret not even checking out Uboa at the time. Maybe it's because I was swamped at the time of that album coming out. It was just, in general, just busy for me that year. But whenever I checked this EP out, I was absolutely fascinated with just the sounds that are exhibited on this project. Uboa can take some electronics and some harsh noise, put it together with her vocals and her screaming some of the time, and just comes together with an absolute behemoth of an EP, let alone the album that was released in 2019. If you're looking for some textured, dense, and rich, harsh, dark, ambient, and experimental music, this is up your alley. This is completely up your alley. And there are some incredible climaxes and zeniths on this EP too, so do not miss out on this. Moving on from number 7 to number 6, we have a band that I did not anticipate to ever see on a list like this anytime soon, but here they are. It's Bring Me the Horizon with post-human survival horror. The metamorphosis that Bring Me the Horizon has done from like 2017 to now is kind of incredible, to say the least. Not the most incredible change that a band has ever done, not the most unique change that a band has ever done, but the sounds from their early 2010s material, the metalcore roots that they had, was just really tacky to me. Like, there wasn't a lot of gut to what they were doing back then. However, in 2019, they put out Amo, which was a change of pace that I did not expect. An album that I actually kind of enjoyed, but a record that was just, in my mind, a little too much of everything. Their EP that was put out late 2019, a really long title that I reviewed, I did not care for. It felt like someone was just messing around on a DAW. Like I said, it sounds like children or a toddler banging on pots and pans. I know it was kind of harsh at the time, but I still very much feel that way about that EP. It doesn't feel coherent at all, and there's maybe like 1 or 2 tracks on that EP that I actually enjoy. Given the 73-minute runtime of that damn thing, I just wasn't a fan. And then they put out the song Parasite Eve. Change of pace in my mind. This EP over here, change of pace, just changes completely what they were doing, and while the aesthetics of the 90s and 2000s alternative metal, new metal, hard rock scene of that time come into full fruition, these songs rock. These songs hit. They have chunkiness, they have girth, they have great production behind them. Song after song is just like these driving rock songs that feel very intense, maybe even like a fight or flight response that comes through on some of these tracks. But yeah, I mean, the songs on here are great. The lyrics on this EP also fantastic as well, well written for an EP. I can't wait to see where Bring Me the Horizon can go from here, given that I just really enjoy the songs on this thing. Number 5 is Magdalena Bay with A Little Rhythm and a Wicked Feeling. An EP that I stumbled upon early on this year, but ever since I listened to it, I just could not get it out of my head. It's a sugary pop, synth pop EP from this duo. They are putting together some very intoxicating pop music and some intoxicating sounds that are just absolutely infectious, groovy, fun, hypnotic, just, ooh, it gets you moving in such a way where it's kind of cute, but also very intimate. The lyrics do run a little simplistic in my mind, and there is a track on here that I'm just not the biggest fan of, but song after song after song on this EP, it's 7 tracks too, there are just some infectious, catchy, and memorable tunes that I just could not resist this year. So yeah, damn. I can't wait to see where they can go from here because they seem to have a lot of promise. Number 4 is the Pressure Cracks EP that I reviewed. This is called Survival. This metalcore and hardcore punk outfit put out a very exhilarating EP early on this year. An EP with some very intense guitar work, some hard as hell drum work as well. Vocals that are absolutely incredible on a punk release too. This is also from a lead singer who is behind the project Fever 333, which is Jason Butler. Butler has had some history within the metalcore sounds that Bring Me the Horizon also did back in the early to mid 2010s. However, this metalcore sound is miles ahead of what was being done in the early to mid 2010s. And I just find these songs on here to be incredibly invigorating, absolutely enthralling, just hard hitting one track after the next. And yeah, check it out. Number 3 on this list is one of the harshest, loudest, and probably the harshest and loudest EP I've heard this year. Anything, actually, this year. Just harsh and loud in general. It is the new Naked EP, Killed by Roses. Not only with this fantastic EP cover art, but the songs on this project. God, they are just so intense. They're absolutely crushing. They are piercing the eardrums in just the harshest, most uncomfortable way. But there's still musicality to this project. It's not like a Merzbow project where it's just harsh noise from front to back. But I digress. This EP over here, power electronics, harsh noise coming together to create a slurry of sounds that are just absolutely mind-crushing, brain-exploding, piercing through my eardrums, going in my heart, attacking my heart, ripping it apart, making me go into cardiac arrest, and then killing me as it's pounding my head in the concrete. Maybe it's a very extreme way to put this album into words, but it is a very extreme record that has absolute intensity and veracity to it that is unmatched with anything I've heard this year so far. At number 2, we have an EP from an artist who actually put out an album earlier this year. That is Veal Smith with a 4-track EP that's just titled after each song. Veal Smith's sound and style can be easily traced back to artists such as Flying Lotus, even something like a Sweet Trip a la Velocity Design Comfort. Despite the obvious influences, I think Veal Smith came through with probably some of his best songs ever. They're bright, they're bustling, they're kaleidoscopic, almost like a mosaic of electronic soundscapes, and the added instrumentation on this project is absolutely beautiful, almost intoxicating as well. I loved listening to this 9-minute EP from front to back. What Veal Smith can do on these tracks is just absolutely awe-inspiring, almost breathtaking, because the sounds on this EP aren't necessarily what was on his previous album, Are You Sick of Being Unlucky? No, they feel like a more enhanced and quality version of what was on that album. Not to diminish the quality of that record, but this, in my mind, this EP is miles ahead of that album, despite it being so short and only having 4 tracks. Sincerely, this is one of the best electronic releases I've heard in a while, and that's not by like a small margin. Like, this is some impressive work, some impressive beat work, production, instrumentation, just near flawless in my mind. Sitting at my number 1 spot is another electronic release, but this time it's more in the realm of ambient techno. That would be, of course, the new Janusz Jurga project, Occultt. 3 tracks, 23 minutes in total of absolutely hypnotic, dark, and rhythmic ambient techno, almost industrial techno as well. That is absolutely entrancing, absolutely hypnotic, and fucking fantastic. I said a lot in my review of this EP that I don't feel like I need to rehash again, because if I would, it would just be very repetitive. But pretty much what I'll say is that I'm excited to see where this project can go from here, because I did receive a comment from, I believe, the artist, and they said that, oh yeah, we're gonna make an album of this, totally, 100%. And yeah, can't wait. This EP feels like I've stumbled across a satanic cult that's in the middle of a ritual, and I can't look away because I'm actually invested in what's going on. And the sounds and the instrumentals on this EP are just absolutely captivating to me, at least. I've had an infatuation with ambient techno since I kind of discovered it. Yeah, you know, this really just scratches an itch that I needed to be scratched. And yeah, it's my EP of the year. It's easily one of the better things I've listened to this year. Hands down, no question. And so are all these other EPs. Let me know what your favorite EPs are in the comments down below. I am curious to know. Give me a top 5, a top 10 in those comments. It would be an honor, a pleasure if you liked this video, if you shared it, comment on it as well, and let me know what I can do to improve future videos down below. Remember, this is only my opinion, because music, of course, is subjective.